Hello, I'm Heather Nelson, and I would like to welcome you to this step-by-step pastel tutorial on how to paint an orange. We're going to be looking at vibrant color, light, and shadow, and we're going to go step by step. I'm going to try to go nice and slow for all of you beginners out there, but if you're finding I'm going too fast, you can always hit the gear down below and slow me down, or you can pause and rewind and watch again. If you're curious about the supplies that I'm using in this step-by-step tutorial, you can always check out my video on supplies. I've got the photo printed out here, and you can download that photo from my link below. And I'm working on pastel mat here. It's actually a cut half sheet from my book that I have. Let's get started on our sketch. And I don't want you to be intimidated by the word sketch. I'm going to be using some willow charcoal for this, but you could also just use some pastel pencil because that's going to blend in also. We don't want to think about this as having to be too fancy. I'm not going to be using the whole of my paper, so I'm going to kind of work with my painting up here and then maybe do some little swatches down here. So when I'm trying to get this orange in here, I'm thinking it's kind of the center of that orange is going to be over in this region, and I'm looking at where that segment's going to be. It might be kind of over here. I'm really just sort of roughing in, so I'm thinking maybe I want the top of my orange to be about here. I don't want to go all the way to the edge, so I'm just thinking about how I want it to fit in my paper. This is like a Christmas orange because it's around Christmas time. So we're just going to make little lines, and I don't concern myself right now with the segment. I'm just thinking about how do I make this orange. And yeah, it doesn't have to be perfectly round, but we can start to round out the edges now. This is going to be where my shadow comes in. And so you start out with straight edges and then you round and curve those off. This is about where my stem came in here. I know I got my shadow here, and same with off to the side. I'm looking at like about where this comes in, and I'm thinking about that, and I'm just going to mark that as like that's going to be my shadow area. Now I'm thinking about the segment. Now my segment is coming in just a little bit next to the stem. It's probably like a 45-ish degree angle. It doesn't come up halfway, so I'm thinking about the line. 45-ish degrees, maybe comes to about here in my picture. I don't want it to go too close to the edge. There is a little dip here. I can make that if I want to. Thinking about where it comes, like if I look the depth of my orange compared to the depth of my segment, it's actually a pretty plump little segment because it's in the front. So it's actually quite large compared to the orange. So now it doesn't have to be perfect. So here's where I'm thinking about putting it. And it maybe even comes up a little higher, so I can adjust that. I'm going to be painting over this sketch, so that part doesn't matter. And the segment itself also has a little bit of a shadow. So there we go. I'm not going to get too carried away with the background because my objective here is more the orange itself. Now I've picked out a few different blue senneliers that I think might be interesting. So I've got quite a dark tone and a mid tone and then a lighter tone. And I'm not going to get crazy about making the background accurate. I'm going to start out with this dark tone and just get the little areas that I see a little bit of shadow. So there was just like a little bit on this one side, and then clearly there is a shadow here. So I'm laying it on the flat side and I'm just sweeping. So I'm going sweep away, and I'm thinking about that line there. We're just going to fill that in, sweep that. Now you can decide whether you want to think about any wrinkles. I'm not really planning on getting too crazy with the wrinkles, but I'm just going to make some marks where the wrinkles kind of are approximately. I'm not looking to make this like incredibly super accurate. There's my little dark swatch of Sennelier. I'm also going to put that in. I'm starting with the darks first here. Obviously, I'm going to put that dark in for the shadow that's also in my segment. And I just went, whew, sweeped under, and away we went. There. Then I'm gonna come in with my like middle tone color. So that's this guy here. And I'm gonna pretty much go to town on this. Just everywhere that there wasn't dark shadow, I'm just gonna cover with that. And again, I've got it on the side. Doesn't matter if you end up a little bit over the edge of your orange, because we can always put it back in, so don't worry about that. And I'm gonna just bring it back into the middle here. Here we go. I can mix this in and blend if I want to, so I think I will. So I'm just gonna do with my fingers. If you don't want to use your fingers, you can always take like a kind of like a foam, and we're just gonna kind of give that a little blend. I'm not gonna go crazy with blending it, so if it leaves some gaps, then I'm okay with that. But we're just gonna give it a little blend here. You can blend as little or as much as you like. Remember that you can always pause and rewind the video, or you can also set it on a slower speed. Then I'm gonna bring in my lighter color, and this is my light tone, so right there. And I'm just gonna make a line where I saw some light coming in. And I'm just making these pretty expressive marks. And here, just picking any area where you see it is a little bit lighter blue on your picture. And I'm gonna blend that in a little bit too. I'm kind of looking for a little bit of a fogged out background. And that just kind of suggests where the light could be in this background. I don't want to spend too much time on my background, so. And sometimes what I do, I'm going to bring the dark in again a little bit here, and then the mid-tone a little over it. Just rub that in. Just get the suggestion of that down. Now we're putting the dark again, a little bit into that shadow area. I'm going to rub this one in, but I don't think I'm going to rub that one in over there. And middle, middle, middle. Kind of dot that around just to make some suggestion that there is something happening. No big deal. I'm not going to mess that one in as much at this point. I'm just going to kind of give it just a little rub to suggest that, yeah, something's going on there. But I'm not getting too invested in what that something might be. I'm not trying to match exactly what I see here. I'm merely matching the suggestion of it. So yeah, there's lighter blues, there's darker blues. That's the only thing I'm trying to talk about in here. And even as I add little bits, that's the only thing I want anybody to be thinking about, is like, oh, there's some lighter things going on here, there's some darker things going on here, but that's all that's happening in this picture. It's not all, oh, for sure it's a blanket. That's not what we're going for. And that it is this particular color blanket. No, it's just a suggestion. So that's going to be our background for now. We may come back in and change it more later. I have picked out a range of colors here. Let's just focus in on that. So we've got this like rusty reddish color. I've got a bright, bright orange. I've got some more like mustardy, yellowy oranges. And then some yellows, which I'm gonna see I have to clean off, but like a darker yellow and a lighter yellow. We're gonna just play with those and see where we get to. I'm gonna start with my dark color first. So that was this like reddish color. And I may even end up needing, like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, you know what, I kind of want to grab that blue that I had before, and I'm just going to put that down on the shadow side, because I can always go a little bit over it. And I'm going to use that same color on that stem. I'm using just this little edge here, and I'm marking with that little edge of my pastel. Put that down. Now we're bringing out more of that rusty red color. And again, I'm going to use, like, I don't know, probably 1/4 inch of this. Sweep that over top. And it's fine that a little bit of it's coming in here. I kind of want that. So I'm looking at where on this orange is there a little bit of shadow. And so I want to show that off. And I sweep over top with this color. Just a little. So I'm going to go really light touch in these areas here where I only see a little shadow in the dimpling. Whereas I'm going to go a bit darker in the areas. I'm going to press harder. That's how I'm going to go darker with this color here when I want to create a shadow. And actually we could go to the segment, we could kind of think the same way. We could start with this darker color and just go swoop, and I just made like a wee with my pastel like that. Now I'm going to come in with my mid color. So this is a very rusty color. And notice I'm not blending anymore. And I'm going to kind of just glaze and skate it over. There's even a little bit of light that kind of bouncing up. So we're going to just kind of skate it over there. And then come in through the middle of the orange because the light is coming from this far side here. And just round it out over here. Again, it's a darker color. I'm going to be coming in with lights later. I don't want to get right into this light area here though. And again, with my segment, I can do the same thing. I'm going to just take it, I'm going to pull it. So I'm going to go pull, grab, pull, grab, pull. So I'm like just kind of grabbing the paper and kind of pulling up towards where I want to go. So I'm going zoom, 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 zoom. But I want to leave some of that darker color showing down below. Then I'm going to go to my next tone. So my next tone is this kind of mustard, I guess you would call it. And I'm going to just really gently go over this area here. I want to grab the texture, like I want to showcase the texture of the pastel mat here. And I don't want all of it to cover because I don't want it to go down into this shadow too deeply. So I'm just going to go really, really light, just a little skate over that. And then as I get closer to the stem, the top where the light is, now I can press harder as I go over the top, right? So I'm going to put it on here and then just give it a sweep. Sweep. We kind of want these expressive little marks in here. I'm going to go careful behind, just give a little whee. And now I can start using this mustard tone. I don't need perfect edges, and actually that's part of being expressive. You don't need like a perfect circle. So we're just going to let that have some kind of lost edges. You can even blend it out just a little bit if you find it's going too circular. And I don't want to cover too much because I can see there's a little orange shadow in there. And if you want to change your shape at all, just make a little line to do that. Now I could get into this segment and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it kind of where I want it and then go and pull it, pull it, pull it. And I might lose kind of the edge of this, but I'll hopefully remember where it was. And we're going to kind of come in a little bit for these, just do these really gentle, like put the very edge of your line on and go like that to kind of create that ray of sun feeling that you get in an orange. All right, now let's go lighter. So now I'm grabbing the lightest yellow I have. I'm going to wipe this one off. So I use a cloth to do that. This one feels like it might have trouble going down. Some of the senneliers are so firm that they have a little trouble going down, but let's start over here. It's also got those like edges, so sometimes you want to, ooh, I forgot to make these little marks here. Our dark tone, mid-tone, our mustardy tone. Oh, that we did that already. Oh, the lighter yellow, oops. And now lighter yellow still, and I can actually use that to scrape off those little funky edges that Sennelier has. But let's just kind of skate it around. We're going to use those funky edges because I only have a little bit. And if you don't have that little bit, just put your pastel on an angle and just grab and make this like quick little pew, pew, pew marks. And also put a little into that stem. So I'm just use that light color in that stem. And I'm going to scrape and kind of scumble over. That's going to give it a little bit of that light. And then in here, I can get a little stronger with it, pull it up. I'm still going to put a little bit more orange down as well because I want more orange. Use this like kind of mustardy one. We haven't used that yet. Sometimes you forget these things. Scumble it over. Show a little edge. Like so. I did a little scumble just for some texture back there. This is actually a fun one for here. So now I'm not going down the bottom and pulling up. I'm in like the middle and pulling up, right? Because I don't want all that light yellow down there. I can do a little sweep back in there just to kind of create that shape, but then we're gonna come back to this really light one again. And, ooh, sometimes I have to scrape to get a sennelier going. Yeah, this one doesn't want to behave so well. But anyway, I'm gonna just work with it till it wants to cooperate a little bit better. So I'm going mark, sweep, and something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. Back part wants to go down, the other part doesn't. And then again, to make those segments, let's find the soft part of this pastel and scumble that in. I will have to come up with a little bit more light. So to get in a little bit more light, I'm going to be bringing in quite a bit lighter. I'm actually going to go a little bit, go with this like lavendery. This is a lavender color. And with the lavender color, I'm going to make these bits of the rind. So I just put a little edge on and just came on. And I'm putting those little bits of the rind in. I'm just kind of marking over. I can see I'm going to need an even lighter color for the rind up top. Let me just go pew, like that. Even see about using it? Yeah, it's not quite light enough. So to go lighter still, could either come in with I have quite a light, this is like a peachy kind of white. Better mark this down. Now I've got this like little peachy marker. And I'm gonna come up top here and again, just pulling down. Use it on the edge. And maybe a little up here, maybe even a little on the top of that. So I went, make that little highlight on the top of the orange there. And I think I'm still gonna go a value lighter still. Just bring in the very top highlight of this orange. I went around like that, so like this, and follow that line. And if it's getting dirty, just wipe it again. so. Maybe a little highlight on the top and a little sweep over there, like so. What we want to do still is get a little bit more orange into the actual orange itself. So that's where I bring in my super duper orange. It's very bright. And I'm going to be careful with this one. I'm dotting along the bottom, and I'm actually going to give that a little tap. And I'm just kind of taking it, again, pulling it. I don't want it to completely cover. That would not be the answer because I'm looking for texture. So I'm looking for the darks to come through. So when I put it on there, I'm pulling it up, but like really, really gentle. Just a very light touch because I want those shadows to be coming in beneath. I'm even going to put a little bit of it here, but then I'm going to give it a little bit of a tap and a little smear. And then I can also, if that was too much, because sometimes you might do too much, more than you want, then we can bring in another color. That turned out to not be the color I wanted, so that's okay, that's gonna happen. Little yellow, and I like that yellow, so I'm gonna scrape it in. Little touch. Again, I don't want to go crazy with that. I don't want to be rubbing in really hard. Now, part of that, I still want to bring back my lighter color. Just go over top of that because I found that I went a little too big on that last one. Here we go. And then where we want to create more contrast with this orange, we can still bring in a little bit of our really bright one. And again, I'm just gonna dot it around to be kind of like suggestive, like, hey, yeah, that's an orange. I'm not gonna bring it into this area over here. And just lightly. I'm not gonna go into this bottom area unless I was gonna blend it. I might even find a little bit deeper orange for that area if I can. This is again kind of a rustier orange tone. Just scumble that over. A little bit here, very lightly, very light. Pull, pull. This is my peachy tone. I'm gonna bring my peachy tone in here, see if it shows up. Yeah, doesn't want to. Maybe my lavender for that little shadow. I can even use my blues. Which might be like, blues, Heather, why? Just carefully, just gently. Give that little shadow, a little blue up here too. Now, when we want to create contrast, now we're going to kind of come in with our background color to give energy to it. I'm going to sweep it. Color by bringing in more color and darker colors. That's where you can start making this look brighter. So as soon as you do that, it starts to make the orange color pop a little bit more. And I like to kind of have that like rough look. And then I might bring in my light color sometimes too, kind of random like. And you can just, you know, scrub that anywhere that the fancy takes you. You can rub it in if you want or not. And then I want to go a little bit darker again. Back in here for that shadow. And by bringing the dark in, like I said, that's what's going to create that contrast with your orange, hey? You can soften edges if you want to. And yeah, I'm thinking that's maybe going to be our orange. I'm going to bring in this one green for the stem. See if it goes on here. There we go. I had to really it in there. Then we want to stand back and take a look. When I take a stand back and look and I see color on my face, interesting. Okay. when I take like a kind of like a stand back from this and I see where it's going, then what I want is a little bit darker through here on the orange. I want a little bit darker on the orange over here. So that's where I'm going to bring in that like rusty color again, the dark reddish one. And I'm just going to come right back over lightly, kind of give it a good scumble over top. If it's getting too much into the areas that I don't want it to get into, then I'm just going to bring in a little bit lighter color again. I just have to decide which one to do that with. I think we're going to go a little bit bolder. Bring in that bright orange, make the transition. Oh, I like that actually, so I'm going to just keep that. And I might do some of those types of things on this bottom segment as well. Just bringing a little bit more bright orange into the conversation, because who doesn't love bright orange? Even with this, it kind of brings a little bit more light to that. And then I see, you know, this is still a little bit darker. So I'm going to go kind of careful about that, but lightly over top, just bringing that in so that it will have more shadow and more light, which is going to give it a lot more shape when we're looking at it from a distance. And we can even bring in a little bit more orange. This one wants to be a little obnoxious with me. I'm going to use it a little for texture, but it's got some edges on it that I don't love. But whenever you get the edges you don't love, you just kind of got to embrace them. Or you have to rub them off on something. Those are kind of your choices. Embrace or rub that off. It's even a little bit darker. I see where it's joined, like where this segment is kind of shadowing the other one. There's a little bit darker. So I decided I'm going to go in there and I'm going to just to create that difference. And I can use that over there too. There we go. And you can just scrape and sweep wherever you want. More color, less color, just get in there. I'm going to come in with my yellow, and I'm going to get a little bit bolder about how I put that in there. Now this yellow is a little bit messy, but I'm going to kind of embrace that, which is a little bit more expressive and impressionistic. You don't have to if you don't want to, but you can. I'm going to put little points of light in here and texture. So I'm just scrub. I don't really care about those like weird little peel marks. Those don't concern me. Little rub there. There we go. If I want to go a little deeper into the shade, I can use my dark green that I had up here, just right here. And I'm going to just see if it brings me any more shadow. It's not doing much for me, so it doesn't matter too much. Pick somewhere to write down your signature, and then you're done. Thanks a lot for watching this tutorial on how to paint an orange. I hope you liked it. Please comment down below how you found the lesson and whether there's anything else that you would like me to help you paint as a subject. And if you're enjoying this tutorial on how to paint an orange, then please subscribe to the channel, maybe hit the like and hit the bell notification so that you find out when more tutorials are coming up.